I'm Ross Pow from idenk. As you'll see from your agenda, I'm here to help facilitate the next 3 days. It really is for me a fantastic pleasure, a great privilege to work with you on this topic at this workshop. I was fortunate enough to be at the Toronto workshop last April, where the original idea and certainly the focus for a youth-centered network emerged. And there was some really exciting discussions, some great ideas, some real passion was shared. And it's been a thrill to me, albeit from a bit of a distance, to see how the Foundation and CIHR have come together, I think in a great example of collaboration already, to bring forward this TRAM initiative and to make today happen as part of that process. So I'm really delighted to be here with you, and I will do my utmost to make the most of your time as we spend the next 3 days together. I shared very briefly last April in Toronto, and do so again, the sort of personal connection that so many of us have with the topic, but myself as well, that one of our children suffers from quite severe depression and anxiety problems, and this was Owen on Skype just before we met in Toronto last year. So it was a real delight that at the end of that 2 days, the focus on youth and adolescent mental health emerged as the front runner for what this initiative should focus on, so we were delighted. It's been, I have to say, a tough year for us as a family, and I think, as you all know, there's so much care, so much energy, so much effort goes in. We're delighted to say the last couple of months have been a real upturn and a real tick in the right direction with various medications and approaches, but I'm certainly empathetic to the challenge that you face in helping individual young people recover and get better, and really want to try and make these 3 days an event, a milestone that people will look back on in a few years' time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and say, at that point, this room was filled with the best minds, the most incisive thinking that we could get to collaborate on this topic and make a real transformation. So I'm very hopeful, and I hope that you are too. It is a bit of an unusual experiment that we're embarking on, isn't it? In the midst of competition, we come for 3 days of collaboration, opening ourselves up, sharing our ideas, sharing our hopes, and maybe some of the approaches, the models, the specific insights that we've got about how we're going to make it work. And that's a challenge, isn't it? Because it is in the midst of a competitive process as well. So I just encourage you, it's such an important topic that if we can do something here, if you can, as part of your proposal, if you can get one idea, one new connection that strengthens what you're proposing and it makes it all the better, and then down the line it really affects someone's lives or some people's lives so positively, then let's try and do that in these next 3 days. Let's really try and use that collaborative time we've got. This is the aim of the workshop that was set out. I think you all had the letter soberly sent round in the pre-materials from CIHR and the Foundation and the TRAM team, and thanks to them for all their energies in getting these 3 days organised. I'm just putting them up again. I'm sure you're familiar with them. It's probably just worth a quick restatement. We've designed the agenda around these aims. You wouldn't be surprised. So we're going to spend some time looking at TRAM's intent and goal. Key part of the next 3 days is you getting to know the other teams, and hence the chance to connect with them, perhaps to evolve your ideas with them as part of the possible collaboration, so you learn about the proposals, and then plenty of time to talk. And then finally, real chance to work on proposals. So maybe take your thinking forward, write some of that down, discuss it with the panel, discuss it with others. But I think it's clear, and we should really restate it, this is a stepping stone towards letters of intent and the final proposals. You know, we've got 3 days to work together productively, collaboratively. Friday is not the end. You're not going to have it all finished. So it's as many of the steps, small steps that we can take. That's what we're looking for in terms of working on your proposals. You have a detailed agenda, minute by minute. Depending on your personality type, some of you will be looking at the watch already thinking, when's it coming? Others don't care. Well, let's be emergent. Let's change tack. I think what we can say is that probably for today, we'll pretty much stick with what's on the agenda. But my role and the role of the TRAM team is to listen to you and take your feedback as we go. So there is the chance that we might go off-piste a little bit later on, depending on your feedback. But just so that, to be clear on the different, as I would call them, the different elements, the different chunks, perhaps, of the 3 days that we've got 3 days. In a second, we're going to hear a little bit more about TRAM's intent and goal, just so I'm absolutely clear, answering some of the questions that you came up with before the event. We've then got various points at which there will be expert inputs of a very wide variety of types, some from within the mental health sector, some from without, but all intended to give you some ideas, some inspiration. And those expert inputs are particularly today and tomorrow morning. There's a lot about learning for other groups. You will see in the agenda you have a slot, at least a time when you will be coming up, and you'll either have 5 or 10 minutes to talk about your proposal. We're really looking forward to that. Again, depending on how organised you like to be, there's a bit of uncertainty as to the running order, but we are sorting that as you speak. And so hopefully by lunchtime, maybe even by break time, we'll be able to distribute the actual running order. So you'll be able to, I'm on first, I'm on, the poor people on last, they have to worry about their own presentation while they listen to the others. But hopefully that will settle your minds and we'll get a running order for the presentations. Then, the chance to meet with each other. And we've done that in a variety of formats. So for example, this afternoon, when we finish at 4:30, we'll be moving along towards the sort of atrium area and over perhaps some coffee and some other refreshments. That's your chance to start to really questioning other people, getting to know them, finding those connections that will help your proposals. The next day, tomorrow, in the afternoon, there's a more formal sort of session where we all get into the Pierre de Coubertin room and have a look at what each other's doing. But again, more time, quite a lot of time. And then again on day 3. So plenty of time, hopefully, for you to get to know others. And then finally, the last couple of things. You will have, at the moment, as is planned, an opportunity to meet with the panel on Friday morning and discuss whatever you like with them. And there'll be a process to sort of get that organised, which we'll introduce later in the week. And then finally, we'd like to hear back, if you're up for it, if you're willing, those groups that want to come back, stand up, say this is where we've got to, this is how our thinking has moved on. So you can see these different elements. I hope that works for you. We've tried really hard to make the next 3 days as productive as possible. As I say, we'll amend if necessary, but let's use this as plan A, see where we get to. Great. Thank you very much. I think about half of you who are members of groups, networks, teams, contributed your responses to the web survey that we ran beforehand, asking the sorts of questions you had, what you were looking to get from these 3 days. So that was fantastic. Thank you so much. That's been really invaluable. And part of the role that myself and the TRAM team will be doing in particular is trying to collate responses to that. So the panel will be meeting at various points during the 3 days, reflecting on what they're hearing from you, reflecting on the questions you submitted, and trying to give, where they can, a considered and sort of collective response to those points. But you also have the opportunity during today and the Thursday, Friday, if you've got any more questions, you could either come and speak to us, or if you want to, just go online at this web address here, and you can simply type in who you are and what your question is, or if you have a comment, or if you have a request, whatever it is, feel free to use that. It comes straight to me. I get to see it, and then I can sort of manage it and get some sort of response to it. So please do use that, as well as if you are up for it, if you're that sort of person, the Twitter account or the Twitter hashtag that we've got, if there's anything that you're looking to share. Okay, great. There's going to be a lot of sometimes when we sort of test opinion. So here's one. I wonder what the answer will be. Hands up if it's too hot in here for you. Let's have a look around, see how your colleagues are responding. It is quite warm, isn't it? You used to do meetings not that long ago, wasn't it? For those of us who did that sort of thing 10 years ago, you just used to turn up by yourself, and if you were lucky, you had a pad of paper and a pen, if someone gave you a pen. And now we turn up with innumerable laptops, our phones, our iPads, quite rightly, and we get them fired up. We've got these huge projectors, video cameras, lights. It's quite warm in here, we realise that. So we are doing everything we can with the hotel. They've got the air conditioning blasting out. I did actually find, as I stood in this corner, it was quite cool. If you're really struggling, no one is going to mind that you come up and stand in this corner. We call this the cool corner. You come and get a shower of cold air. But we're going to try and get the room as cool as we can. We do appreciate that. So gentlemen, if you want to, as some of you already done, take your jackets off. Let's try and keep cool. If, and a plea, but not an adamant request, if you've got your any equipment on that you absolutely don't need, your PC, laptops, or whatever, could you turn that off just because it might help us for an hour just to cool the room down? But the hotel has told us they will try and get it down, and we'll sort of take stock again at lunchtime. So thank you for that. One final question. As I say, I'll be trying at various points to get your feedback on how we're doing. So how's that question for you? Who can't read that question? So we're going to have, through particularly today and tomorrow morning, a few presentations. And indeed, on Friday, you might come back with some stuff. I've got no idea how big the font is on those presentations or how much detail it is. So all I would encourage you is that, after, particularly at lunchtime, there's not really much presentation before lunchtime. Justin's going to do some stuff for us, but there's not many slides. But from lunchtime onwards, I'm going to be encouraging us to mix up a bit, but also if you find it, if you want to sort of hedge your bets, you might want to get a bit closer depending on the screen size, because we haven't got any screens further down the room. Okay. But as I say, here at your service for these 3 very important days, working on such an important topic to us all, to make such a big difference. So I encourage you, if there's anything you want to feedback, do come and speak to me. So back to the agenda. This was day 1, where we are today, and we're going to now look at TRAM's intent and goal. And I'm going to ask Tony Beck to come up and give us his overview of the TRAM initiative. Thank you very much.